Once again, I welcome all of you to the English class. Let us continue this story. We are talking about the daily routine of the author in his childhood. So, in the evenings, the author and his grandmother used to walk back home from the school, feeding the dogs on the way. Now we are going to discuss about the turning point in the relationship between grandmother and the author. The word turning point, as you know, means a decisive event or important happening in one's life that serve to change the status of that person. After a friendly relationship with the grandmother, Khushwant Singh had to adopt a new life in the city. This itself was a turning point for both the grandmother and the grandson. Both of them were sent for to settle down in the city with his parents for getting Khushwant Singh admitted in an English school. But the grandmother didn't like the way he was taught. Though both of them had shared the same room, she could not help with his studies as she didn't know English. Apart from this, she was disappointed that he was learning music that she considered bad for gentlefolks. She believed that learning music was a mean thing to be followed by beggars and prostitutes. Well, children, let us see how the common link of friendship between Khushwant Singh and his grandmother gets snapped in the story later. When the author went to the university, he was given a separate room by his parents. For the first time in his life, he had to stay independently. The grandmother accepted her loneliness and never spoke to anyone. After she got separated from his grandson by not sharing the room. All day long, she sat spinning the wheel and reciting the prayers with her beads of a rosary. Only in the afternoons, she relaxed for a while for feeding the sparrows on the road. As the roads were free from dogs in the afternoons, she could conveniently feed the sparrows by the roadside. At last, the author had to go abroad for his higher studies. When the day came for the departure, the grandmother came to the railway station to bid him off. She remained firm and composed. When she kissed Khushwant Singh on the forehead, He was afraid that it might be her last kiss. He thought so because she had been very old and he had to stay away abroad for 5 long years. After 5 years, when Khushwant Singh returned home after his higher studies, he was incredibly welcomed by his grandmother. To his surprise, he found that his grandmother had never grown older even a single day as she had been when he had left abroad. Even on the day of his return, Khushwant Singh's grandmother did not give up feeding the sparrows, which was her religiously followed routine since many years. Feeding the sparrows was her only happy engagement at that time. But just before the day of her death, for the first time in so many years, she broke this routine and abandoned her prayers. On the eve of her demise, in the evening, she did not pray. She collected several ladies of the neighborhood and sang songs related to the homecoming of warriors. She had to be persuaded for stop singing in order to avoid overstraining. However, the next day she was taken ill. Well, children, please now write another question in your notebook. Question: on the eve of her demise, what did the grandmother do?